Hey guys, welcome to the Namra podcast. Russ Manxon here with my guest, Mark Aiello. Is it Aiello?
Aiello, you got it
awesome.
right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
He's a videographer in Mass, Rhode Island, and soon to be Texas.
Yep.
And wanted to bring him in here, promote his services, and talk videos. So stay tuned. Hey, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Russ. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Background on our relationship. We've been following each other for like a year and a half probably, and this is our first time actually meeting.
Yeah.
And 2 days ago, you met my partner, Taylor, at BNI Group. So
right.
Small world, subbing for our friend who's also been on the podcast, Dustin Hopkins.
Yep. Shout out, Dustin.
Shout out, Dustin. So love it. What brought you to Taylor's BNI, and what services are you looking to kind of promote in this area? Let's just start with what you do.
Yeah, so I initially jumped into that particular BNI. Like I said, I was subbing for Dustin, and I am in a BNI right now. I belong to, it's called the Better Business Bureau in Westboro, but we meet online in Zoom. Right now, we're kind of a small chapter. We're looking to definitely grow a bit further. So what brought me, I guess, with Dustin is mutual friendship. We have, as I was saying to you earlier, we have a mutual friend. We go back like to early childhood, and I've known Dustin now probably 10, maybe 7 years, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. And so for the people who don't know you, you're a video producer, really high quality stuff. So
thank you.
Tell us how you got started making videos and how your career has sort of evolved. Like, where did it all start, and go from there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it stems from early childhood in that I was always interested, passionate about filmmaking and storytelling. I really can't say a definitive moment where I decided like that's what I want to do. Cause I mean, as a kid, I was always creative. I wanted to, at one point I would say like, I want to be an animator. At another point, I wanted to be a graphic novelist, and I want to be a writer, or, and then like eventually settling on comic books or something. But like, then I was kind of like, you know, I wanted to make, I think I wanted to do graphic novels. I wanted to be like Frank Miller, the guy that created 300 or something, because I love drawing. But I kind of had like a turning point where it's kind of like, well, you know, I'm only making these little like stories just with the hope of seeing them turn into movies someday. So I'm like, why don't I just make movies instead? And I guess what really turned me on to cinema from the beginning was Martin Scorsese. I watched Casino, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, all those movies. I'd say he was really like my big influence, and kind of geeking out here, but like there's for filmmaking, there's like, I think Scorsese, he brought like at that point in time, and like we're talking like the 70s and 80s, he really brought like a new style to filmmaking that involved like intricate cinematography and kind of like all over the place editing. And I kind of liked that there wasn't like much of a linear framework, and the stories were more character driven. So from a creative perspective, that was definitely an influence early on. And in terms of career / business, I mean, I went to film school. I went to Fairfield University, and lately I found I'm one of the few professional videographers that actually went to film school.
Not surprised to hear that at all.
Yeah. And which I can get to that a little later as far as maybe thoughts on film school. But so I went to film school. I knew I knew I wanted to have a career in filmmaking, and I could see myself directing film someday. But I guess as I was going through college and film school, I just kind of like, I don't know if it was like I was getting turned off by my peers, or maybe it was like the environment of the school where maybe it didn't encourage like entrepreneurial pursuits as much. It seemed kind of like everybody was going there to either get a career in maybe like network television, and then there were some people that were, I guess, you know, going the more indie filmmaking route. But I guess like, I don't know if it was like, it was hard to get my foot in the door with them, or maybe back then I wasn't as driven. I guess at the end of the day, I didn't really know where to fit in. And I guess, you know, now I kind of have embraced the fact I don't fit in anywhere, and I'm kind of making my own path.
Yeah.
So the first few years after college, I was kind of like trying to figure out, do I go television? Do I go freelance? Do I try and get a full-time job, maybe as a company videographer, you name it, say like a hospital or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was really the pandemic that really kind of changed things and brought me a sense of clarity where it was like, okay, lost, my job, personal life was kind of a mess. And I was kind of like, well, there's not really any opportunity for full-time work right now. I know I really, at the end of the day, really just want to make films. I have a passion for it, maybe not a portfolio to showcase for it right now, but I've definitely got the drive for it. I've got the time to do it because nothing's going on. We're in COVID, I'm just at home. So I'm like, why don't I start my career as an entrepreneur, as a freelance filmmaker who creates content for really just the things that I find interest in life. And I kind of came to, I wrote down in my journal, I'm like, okay, what am I interested in? What do I find cool? I'm like, I love fitness. I like motorcycles, tattoos, people with a really cool craft or something. And I was like, all right, well, this is all kind of edgy and extreme. So that's kind of where I went as far as a branding, I guess, marketing direction. Is like, this is my niche. These are the kinds of people I service, almost like an island of misfit toys kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And I was I gained a mentor, Jed Burdick at Votary Films, phenomenal guy, phenomenal filmmaker, very, very experienced entrepreneur and business owner. And yeah, so I told him this is what I'm trying to do, and he's like, well, start a portfolio. He's like, you're gonna have to work for free for a little bit. You're not gonna be making any money. You're gonna be broke for a bit, but this is probably the best and honestly probably the quickest way that you can do this. So that's exactly what I did. I was broke for a good year or whatever, but eventually people were starting to notice and catching on, and I'd like to say I've been operational in business now for maybe as far as actual business, I'd say I'm going in my third year, I'd say. Yeah, going in my third year now. So that's what I do, creating branding video content for edgy brands, telling their stories and exciting kinds of content, whether it be documentary style or, cool promotional type of content for social media.
Awesome. Yeah. Love it. Well, congrats on making the jump, man. That's huge. There's a lot of people who are starting to make that leap. And I think telling your story on a platform like this hopefully can give a college kid confidence to come right out of school and do their own thing.
Thank you.
Because there was not a lot of support for that 5-10 years ago.
I hope so, because I don't want to sound like a Tony Robbins type of a-hole or whatever, but I really mean, if I can do it, so can you. I mean, like I said, I did go to film school, although I was educated. I didn't have I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I wasn't that, brash kid just selling lemonade and making tons of money when he was 8. I was never that kid. Yeah. But, if you have, I guess, at the end of the day, the desire to go for some kind of jump like that, you can do it. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, is how much drive you have and how much you can endure.
Yeah. And I think it's very cool how you chose up front what industries you were interested in working with, and let that sort of take your personal brand over, and you manifested it through that, because that's it. That's who you're working with now. Yeah. It's really cool. We didn't do that when we started. We just said we want to help whoever needs help, really, with whatever they need help with at the beginning, because we had, we were doing much lower quality videos, and we were good at posting on social media, so we could provide some value to business owners who had no idea what they were doing. Yeah. But, by no means did we say we're going to look for these industries, and it's cool that you did that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was I guess I wasn't aware of it as far as I didn't know anything about running a business, and I didn't know because typically I think that's kind of how businesses start, is they'll kind of start, servicing whatever. And I'll be honest, in spite of that, I would still, I'll still do weddings. I'll still do maybe a corporate gig or a nonprofit just to, pay the bills, so I don't need a 9-to-5. I mean, right. I'll still do that. But yeah, at the end of the day, that sort of niche down that style, the people I cater, was decided from the get-go.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Thank you.
It's awesome that is possible now, you know?
Yeah, it's very inspirational to see that in the past maybe 5, maybe 10 years that there's been a lot more room for entrepreneurial, and particularly in my industry, I think in the past 5 years there's been a lot, like a surge of freelance filmmakers that maybe they didn't go to school, or maybe they don't have like the super high-end equipment. They don't have like a big fancy studio or like anything like that. I should say the playing field is a bit more democratic now, and we're certainly seeing that in cost of equipment for gear. I mean, I don't know what you paid for this, but it's probably nothing like what it would cost to operate a radio station maybe 30 years ago.
Definitely not.
Yeah, you get these on Amazon at a good price, or B&H, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, the playing field is more leveled, but I think maybe a con to that would be like, okay, now these people got to step up their professional game because, like I said, go to business school, maybe they don't have the expertise.
Yeah, the communication skills.
Right. And I think that's maybe where you and I stand out, because I'll hear nightmare stories from prospects and clients or people that have used videographers before. And it's heartbreaking, because you may say, one, it's like, okay, well, here's a chance for me to shine. But it's also, it kind of turns off a lot of people outside from the industry and think like, oh, it's just a bunch of scumbags.
Right. It makes us all look bad. That's something we've seen from the very beginning. Because we've been doing social media management for other businesses for like 7 years now. And when we first started, the biggest problem that we saw was when we were going door to door, every single person we knocked on had been screwed by another company. Like they were all, I mean, I'm maybe exaggerating a bit, but a lot of them were locked into like really fluffy contracts with people who were not communicating with them. Either a really big company who couldn't deliver custom services, or it was like somebody's niece who like was not a professional and it was really low quality work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our goal was always to fill the gap. And I think there's pros and cons to having like a wide range of quality out there. The negative is that it can turn people off to like hiring a marketing company overall, because they think, oh, they're all like that, and they're not. But it does mean people with a smaller budget can access video production to some extent too. So as a business owner, it's like it's a good thing. You can go find a freelance kid who's just starting, give them a smaller budget because they're just trying to build a portfolio up. And if you find them at the right time, it can be good for you as a business owner to like start with lower quality videos and slowly work your way up to the higher budget stuff. So it's good overall, and the demand for videos is definitely increasing. So that's a plus.
Definitely. It's also like, with that said too, I think it's a good opportunity for a relationship to build with, say, like that new videographer that's trying to build a portfolio, and that client who needs help with marketing, but they don't have the bandwidth to go with a higher end professional company. Like it's a chance for that videographer to step up his or her game, and also use that client as a case study. And, they can both grow together. They may grow apart, but, hopefully they'd still, keep on good terms. And that's usually how it goes, I think, for a lot of other people.
Yeah, totally agree. There's nothing wrong with that. You work together for a few years, you realize it's not necessarily the perfect fit. I mean, we've had a few times where we've just sort of like grown past clients, where like our services have leveled up quickly over the years. We literally shot our first videos on like cell phones. So we're doing a little different work now. You know what I mean? So we had to sort of graduate from working with certain clients, and it was all good, like and that's where the communication and the relationship building comes in. As long as you're honest about what you can do right now and who you are and how your company's evolving over time, there's no hard feelings as you grow and, or the company grows out of you and they need to hire like a team of videographers or in a huge agency, and they can't handle they just don't want to do like the smaller stuff anymore. Right. Whatever it is, like either way, it's all communication and relationships in this business, I think.
Definitely. 100%.
Tell me about film school and what you learned there that you still use out in the field today.
Yeah. Okay. I guess for one, I think, honestly, like etiquette on how you conduct yourself on a set. You show up on time. You don't show up with, alcohol or pot. Not that I was doing that, but I think certainly my peers might be doing that.
Yeah.
Dress depending on the occasion, the set, dress accordingly. I mean, maybe if it's a gym set, you could probably get away with the sweatpants, but on like more bigger corporate jobs, dress to the occasion, I'd say. Which still not a lot of people do that. But so yeah, etiquette, definitely on how you're conducting yourself on set, communicating. As far as like in general, just like what I've learned, whether it was through projects or skills or through courses. I mean, I certainly gained a lot of theory knowledge, like on filmmaking. Like I wouldn't consider myself like a pro. Like say Quentin Tarantino, he knows everything about movies. I'm not at that kind of knowledge level, but I certainly know a lot about, the history of film and kind of like, how it started with like the Lumiere brothers in France and, how that went into other countries and how film was applied, and then how France had like a big kind of change in creative direction that was what influenced classic Hollywood. So yeah, definitely like a knowledge in history and storytelling. I guess like certain people weren't, at the end of the day, I really don't think they were qualified to teach filmmaking. They were not filmmakers. It was actually, so Fairfield is a Jesuit school, and the two people that led the department, it was a small department. The school was not known for filmmaking, let alone communications. It was more so known, I think, for like nursing and engineering and business. So it was just these two priests that just didn't know what they were doing, I think. Yeah. So, so I think, I guess maybe I learned from that experience that it's like, okay, well, I didn't need to go to school for this. I especially at the time of when not long after I graduated, there was a whole splurge of like these YouTube filmmakers. Like, I don't know if these names ring a bell at all, but Peter McKinnon, Matty Hapoya, Daniel Schiffer, these kind of basically these kids, honestly, like they were not even in their 30s. They were probably like in their early 20s, maybe even their teens. And they were just out of their house, like doing, whether it was skateboard videos or, coffee videos, and just making really insane epic B-roll with the little equipment they had. And it just kind of went to show that like, yeah, you didn't need to necessarily be educated nor have all the big bells and whistles tools to accomplish those things. And
it's sort of like the vision.
Yeah.
If you have the vision, if you know what shots look good.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's the vision. It's like that. Back to what I was saying too, like they all had a drive to be the best they could be. And I think that's kind of what's more desirable now in my profession, probably also your profession too, I would imagine, is, people don't maybe care so much about how much you can name drop. It's more about what can you provide. Like I had like some people when I was starting this pursuit early on, they were like really doubting me. And because you'll always, I think you probably can relate. You get haters in the beginning. They're like, "Why are you doing this? You're not making any money." Like, but they would try and say, "It's like, oh, well, show them your resume." And I'm like, they don't. They're not going to look at a resume. They want a portfolio. They want to see what I can do for them. Not, it might not to say it's totally futile, but like at the end of the day, it's really about a demand for like, okay, what can this person do?
Yep.
So, I think I went on a tangent there. I don't know if that answered the question about like film school, what I learned or whatever.
You did, because you answered like, what you don't use, and it sounds like they taught you a lot of like the soft skills, the professional skills, show up on time, communicate clearly.
Yeah.
Be honest about what you can and can't provide. That's always been our thing. Like we've never felt like we were overselling ourselves ever. And it helps us sleep at night. We're always honest about what we can actually do for you right now. And as that evolves, we evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the main thing too, back to, not to go back, but with film school is they definitely, I think the people that excelled in film school were the ones that really networked with other people. And I guess I wasn't doing that maybe because I didn't know how. Not that because I'm always been an extrovert, I think, from an early childhood. And I think that's what's really helped me now with networking and sales skills. But it's like, probably with the same with like, I guess a BNI group is like, you get out of it what you put into it. Mm-hmm. And if you're not putting a whole lot into it, you're not putting a whole ton of effort in, you're not going to get a lot back. But if you put in like those extra mile, whatever you would call it, the extra work, and you want to, show people that you're willing to provide for them. You're not necessarily asking for anything from them. You want to see how you can help them. I think that's how you build a good rapport at the end of the day with people.
How did you over time get to the level of like crispness of footage? Because I would say you're being humble, but also not by saying like, oh yeah, I can't compare myself to Quentin Tarantino. Like, okay, nobody can compare themselves to him. But like the fact that that's even in the conversation is pretty cool for you. You do really, really clean work.
Thank you.
How has that evolved from like the first video you ever made to what you're producing now? And like, how did you continually improve your skills?
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I guess what it comes down to, you got to get over the insecurity that, because like every video you make, you're going to look at it and be like, this looks like crap. Like in your eyes, yeah. Maybe not all the time. It's at least in the beginning, you kind of feel that way. It's like, this looks like crap. Nobody's going to like it. But back to my YouTuber interest, like another YouTuber I like is YC Imaging. He creates music videos, and he made a great analogy. It's like for people listening, they're not going to see this, but people watching, but your expectations for a project are up here. Clients are down here, audience is down here. So you got to, I guess, keep that in the back of your mind and recognize that you are your own worst critic, not your audience. Mm-hmm. And it's really just putting the reps in that, is going to, it sounds so easier than done, but that's really just it. Just time and continual practice is what makes you better at the end of the day. And that's something that I've been trying to do a lot recently is practice. Not a lot of filmmakers, I think, maybe practice, but it's important. Like even if it's on a weekend, you're going out with your buddies to the bar, you're going to the park, the beach, whatever, just bring out the camera, and you don't even necessarily have to create something out of it. Just try it out. Just test the autofocus on the lens, or test, look at the footage and then go back in editing and see how this looks on that. And, just things like that. It's much easier said than done, of course, but a combination of that, of course, with, occasionally doing some research, which I can be bad at. Sometimes I'm lazy. I don't want to always go on research. I just want to watch Seinfeld or something. So, but yeah, watching, whether it's tutorials or educating yourself on, articles of, what's going on with cameras lately. Because especially in the beginning, I would just buy gear without not much of a knowledge of why I needed it and why that particular camera. Because sometimes today when people ask me, I'll be like, oh, I've got the Sony FX3. And they're like, why did you choose Sony? So, but I think it's okay to not be, you don't have to get so technical. Like I don't consider myself really a technically versed guy compared to others. It's more a matter of just what you can do with the camera. And at the end of the day, can you tell a good story? I think, because like I was saying, I think that's what people want to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. And I'm in the same boat. I was totally self-taught on every level, from like how cameras work to lighting and like just different ways to interview people and everything. And I feel so much more confident now just through the reps over the years. I can go into any situation now and feel pretty comfortable, but before it was like everything was new.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with, we were talking earlier, like you brought up Tinder. It's like with dating, going out and approaching girls, man, at first it's kind of daunting, but then when you do enough of it, you're like, okay, it's not so bad.
It's just reps.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Exactly.
No, but Zach is the one who told us to get these GH5s.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Because they roll super long. Like if you have the plug-in battery pack, they can roll pretty much unlimited. So, and we have some clients who do like seminars, and like we need to be rolling for like 2.5 hours while they're giving like long speeches or doing classes. Nice. Just a versatile like vlogging camera was all we needed, because video wasn't even really our main service when we started shooting videos. It was all social media management and taking care of your posting and running your ads and just being consistent on social and graphic design. Yeah. And then we dabbled with videos, and over time, like the demand for videos was so high that we were like, oh, we're a production company now. Right, just slowly we just started getting better and better, and the equipment improved. But
That's awesome. I was going to ask why you use a GH5, and yeah, I didn't know Zach actually uses Panasonic, but
He doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't? Okay.
No, at that time, like 3-4 years ago when we got these cameras, he was like, I wish I got that camera.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, all right, well, I'm sold. And it was perfect for what we needed. Like, I think other cameras are suited more for different, like, companies or different videographers, depending on creative style and the lenses you're going to be using. But for us, and actually shout out Ben Mercedes too, because Zach told us about GH5. Ben Mercedes told me to get the 1260 and the 8-18 lens, I believe.
Oh, cool.
And he was like, start there and you're going to have everything you need. And that was it, like the best advice ever. Because with those lenses and these cameras, we were able to shoot like every interview video, every event video, everything that we've been hired to do, we've been able to pull off with just that. And it's given us the ability to now like slowly learn like, oh, we can get this attachment or this light and it'll make a difference. But like, that's how we've evolved our quality, is just one foot in front of the other, like making more and more videos and being like, oh, this would help.
Yeah.
Or that would help every time we go in to an office, and that's how this whole, like every piece of equipment in here has been purchased for some sort of purpose.
Yeah.
You know, where
That's
it's like,
good.
oh, we need that next time, or we need this. So
yeah.
I say I'm not technical, but like over time I've learned what everything does.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
No, you need some degree of the technical knowledge, because I mean, I do think it's important to know why you're buying the particular gear, what you're going to use it for, all that stuff, and I think that's usually how it goes as you're expanding your arsenal, is learning. Okay, what do I need? What don't I need?
It's better to do it that way, to bootstrap it,
Definitely.
like from nothing. Because if you just Google like, oh, I'm starting a production company and I'm going to spend, $20,000 on equipment, and you buy all this fancy stuff.
Right.
But you have no idea what any of it does. You're screwed. You're not going to be able to make what we could have made with a like $20 camera,
Right. Yeah.
Because we know how it all works. We know how to work with clients. Those are the best videos on YouTube. I forget what channel it is. I think Zach is the one who showed me.
Gerald Undone.
It's like they just compare like an amateur videographer versus a much more professional videographer, and they give the better videographer way worse equipment. And he always beats them.
He always It's I think Full-Time Filmmaker, right? Is that the one?
Yeah. Those videos are amazing.
Yeah,
it shows you like it's not only like it's totally not the equipment. It's, do you know where to position the lights? It's, do you know how to ask the questions better so that the interviewer feels more comfortable and it comes off more organic, and like all those skills are mashed into one. And the editing is obviously huge. Like, the best footage in the world can be totally blown.
Yeah.
If the editing stinks.
Yeah. No, I love watching that kind of content. Like they'll give somebody who knows nothing, they'll give him like a red camera, and it'll just look like horrible. And yet they give the other guy like a T3i or something, and it looks amazing. So yeah.
It's an interesting industry, man, but it is cool that like so many people now have the opportunity to try and do it on their own. Mm-hmm. The entrepreneurial spirit in this industry is alive and well, which is cool. And it is good for businesses as well to have access to all different types of like budgetary video resources too.
Definitely. It's good that, I think the consumers have like a lot of options, I think, because I think more and more companies are being formed every day in this economy. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I don't know what the cause may be, but when those start forming, they need more services, and you need more service providers for that. So it is really encouraging and really inspirational to see. And it's also, you may think like, oh, well, that means more competition. It's like, well, yes and no. I mean, it's, I guess, more competition, but more networking. Like we're here. So
yeah, I think it's great. I was just telling Taylor yesterday, I went to a networking event at the Wachusett Chamber of Commerce, who are my like great friends. I've been with them since we started like 5-6 years ago.
Nice.
All great people. And for the first time ever, there were like 3 other marketing companies doing social media and video production and stuff there. And like, obviously my first instinct was like, whoa, get out of here. Like, I was here first, but it like instantly wore off because I was thinking, finally I'm validated in that this is even a thing. Yeah. Because when we first started knocking on doors, it was 2016. And we were like, yeah, we post on social media for you. And they're like, what? Like, who's paying you for this? How, what? Like, what do you even mean? Like, why would I pay somebody to post on Facebook for me? And so it's evolved from there to, like there's lots of social media managers out there, and everybody's starting to look for an option for like a video guy and somebody to do your posting and your ads. And so it's good for the whole industry that there's more of us out there, and it is a real thing. And a lot of people are looking to outsource those sorts of tasks.
Definitely.
So it's good.
Yeah.
I think
It's really good. And it's I think along with that, those companies, those prospects, consumers, what have you, they are realizing they kind of have to be either a little more literate in this expertise, or at the very least, like you said, outsource it. Like at the very least, they know they need to understand it, and it's going to help them. So they can't just go without it as much anymore, because everything is like social media. I mean,
it's super competitive now. We've been saying it's like a utility. You have to have it now. It used to be sort of optional, where like, you'd obviously do better if you were on social media and your competitors weren't. But now it's like, look, if you're not online, like properly indexed on Google and strong presence on at least like Facebook, Instagram, like the foundational platforms as a portfolio of who you guys are, like you're going to lose. Like you may go out of business. Yeah. It's as if you don't have a sign on your storefront, or like you have nothing, it's like you didn't even tell people you were open if you're not on Google. You might as well not have started a business. And it's getting to that point. It sounds harsh. Every time I say it, it sounds harsh, but it's super true. And your competitors are doing it. So if you're not, like, it could end you,
Yeah, you have to keep up. And it's even like, in my perspective, like if I'm trying to do sales, if I want to reach out to a company, and if on their Facebook page or their Instagram, they haven't posted anything in like a year and a half, I'm like,
you think they're out of business.
Yeah, I'm like, should I even reach out? Is it worth my time?
Yep, exactly. And so that's what hopefully this podcast and these like little clips that we put out on Instagram do, is educate people on the fact that this is a real thing. You guys really need to take it seriously. And there's people who can help, right? There's people like us who know lots of different videographers. And that's why I wanted to have you on and everybody else in our network on, because it's important that people know like there are good quality resources out there and people who are actually here to help.
Definitely.
So
you guys are definitely doing a phenomenal job with that. I think the work is definitely speaking for itself. People are recognizing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We've worked hard to get this studio at least to this point, and the podcast has been fun to do.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was how you've seen your proposals evolve from, because I would put you in like filmmaker category, right? And I think you mentioned like if you had your way, you'd be making like longer short films, 15-minute video, like storytelling videos, maybe even a 5-minute video that's like all-encompassing story of either a business or a person or whatever it is, documentary style stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously your hand's been forced to do short, like you want to do long form, but also cutting it down into like the reels and the highlights. So how have you seen your proposals evolve and demand for those like shorter clips evolve?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I guess like I haven't yet had, clients like right now the clientele that I have, I mean, they're still trying to figure all this stuff out, but I'm at least ahead of them in that I know how people are consuming content, or at least I have a general idea enough to know how I'm going to implement it in practice. And yeah, definitely with, consuming on social media, the vertical style, it's not, I guess, suitable or best feasible for like that long form documentary filmmaking kind of content. Not to say you can't put it there, it just might not be best suited for that. I think obviously the best would be like YouTube or Vimeo. The problem is most traffic is on Instagram and TikTok right now. And just like it's just like a little gripe, but Instagram used to have a feature where you could take out your phone, it would be vertical, and if it was a horizontal video, you could just flip it. Yeah. But they found out people are too lazy and they don't want to do that. So you can't do that anymore. And most content that I find that people are putting up, whether it be just from their iPhone or from an actual camera, is it's just vertical, and they'll either crop it in post, or they're even like taking these cameras like what we have here and just
Yep.
turning them this way. And I mean, I guess like I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So you can't dictate how, the market, how people are consuming whatnot. So
Yep.
it's
It just is what it is.
yeah, I would say like the middle ground would be like putting up cut downs, like teaser clips on social media of that, like on Instagram and TikTok, and say like the full, I mean, again, you could put the full video on those pages, but it's like you want to see the full video, go to our YouTube or our Vimeo page or our website even.
And that's the model for, I think, most like big content generators, like the long form podcast or whatever it is. Like I watch a lot of golf videos.
Yeah.
So I find out about these people on Instagram through like a 30-second clip. And then I go watch like the 30-minute video of them playing golf on YouTube or on their whatever website or whatever it is. So
definitely. And I think that's it's a good way too to sort out who's really a loyal member of your audience versus somebody that's casually just going through and looking at content. Like you may get like maybe a lot of likes or whatever on Instagram, but it's like the people that decide to maybe go to your YouTube channel may be more inclined to buy your products, whatever service you're in, or go to your website and call your business. That's at least what I feel. I think that's kind of how it usually goes. Yeah.
But it hasn't really like, I mean, yeah, I guess it just is what it is.
Yeah. Right.
Has it affected your business like positively or negatively? Like, has it been like harder to put those proposals together, or is it just like, for us, it's almost like maybe a good thing because you can charge for the full version of the video and like the cut down clips and all that.
Yeah.
So we don't hate it. It just is part of it now.
Yeah. That's kind of how I try to look at it as, in that perspective. I don't hate it. It's not what I prefer, but
creatively, it's not ideal.
Right.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
We had to make an adjustment just on the podcast because we used to have really tight, like nice angles of like just upper body when we're shooting. And then we were like, oh, we got to pull the cameras back so that we can crop vertical for the reels on Instagram.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just little changes like that. That's like our only advice to people is like shoot horizontally, but go wider so that you can produce the full horizontal interview video, but also have like a good aspect ratio on the vertical side when you crop that part too.
Yeah, definitely.
That's like all we can say.
Yeah. And if you're going horizontal too, I mean, pretty much any camera now in the cost of like a 2K range can shoot in 4K. So if you decide like this is too wide and I'm just going to go horizontal, you can always just punch it in.
Yeah, you punch in and you're not going to lose much quality at all.
Yeah.
So.
But to answer your question, I guess with proposals, I mean, I don't know if this is how a lot of other videographers operate, but I mean, I typically do like a package deal system. And with that, I'll usually offer like the longer, more horizontal video. And along with that, you'll get those vertical cut downs. So it's kind of a best of both worlds, like little menu that you get.
Yep.
So I find it, overall, it's like, it's used well. It's like, you're getting that longer content that you would want for, say, your website, where especially you got like a wide banner, you want to showcase that, but you're trying to up your social media. So I'll give you some content for that. And the beautiful thing is all these companies I talk to, whether they're actual clients of mine or their prospects, they all need more content.
Yeah.
So as long as you build a relationship with somebody, as long as they continue to have the bandwidth, that doesn't really go away. There's always more opportunity for more work and more content. So, and more ideas too. Like, it's like, let's say you did like a documentary style brand story. It's like, okay, well, now there's maybe opportunity for more testimonials, or maybe you want more internal content, kind of like what you guys are doing here. So yeah, it's sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, man. I mean, anything else you wanted to say to the people?
I guess, I don't know. I guess if I knew you, I'd say thank you for listening. But
who are you looking to connect with?
I guess, okay, who I'm looking to connect with. I mean, more agencies like you. I'm at a point where I'm trying to, I think, scale up a bit more. Not a bit. I'm looking to scale up more in my business and the clients that I serve. Ideally, it would be like the smaller, medium-sized clients. I mean, corporate would be nice because it pays well. But as we were talking about before we came on the podcast is, there's a lot of a lot of bureaucratic BS that goes into corporates, and you don't really get to build a relationship like you do with, say, a small business owner. And I like that. I like building relationships with people and servicing my skills for an ongoing solid partnership. But yeah, I mean, and of course, like as far as actual clientele goes, I mean, people within that niche I was talking about earlier, whether it's like more tattoo supply companies or more gyms, maybe some fitness related brands, whether that be apparel or supplements, or maybe a construction gear brand. I've been looking, I like a lot of, I guess, like product based companies, whether it's, like I said, gear for athletics or for construction. I'd like to dive into hunting outdoors, kind of.
That'd be cool.
I think that'd be cool. I like watching Meat Eater on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. I love that show.
Steve Rinella.
Yes. As much as I love my entrepreneurial pursuit, if I were to work full time for any one company in the world, it'd be Meat Eater.
That would be such a cool job. Oh, yeah. While we're on like the topic of traveling, Texas.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Texas.
Oh yeah. So I will be relocating to Texas. I don't know when this is going to come out, but at the end of January, I'll be going down there until about early April. Kind of just want to relocate, get a change of scenery, and see if. I guess I've been doing okay up here in Massachusetts and in the New England area, but maybe there's more of a demand for my particular service and my style in a state like Texas, particularly like Austin, where brands, there's a lot more edgy related brands. There's a lot more room for creativity, a lot more collaboration with other filmmakers too. So I'm kind of just going to go down there and see what opportunities yield, and at the very least, I'd love it if I could establish some connections, some business out there, and be able to continue up here, have best of both worlds scenario. Or maybe I just don't come back. I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm leaving it up to whatever. So
good for you for going for it. Best of luck when you move down there.
Thank you.
Definitely keep me posted, and we'll always do our best to send you business in New England as you come back. So
likewise.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think this was a pretty good full circle.
I think so too.
Episode. So, if people want to follow you to see, because I think there's no better way to really see like what you're all about than just going on your Instagram and seeing the kind of content that you're producing for those types of like cool industries. So Instagram handle, just put it on the screen too. But.
Yeah, thank you. Just Mark Aiello, just MarkAiello. I try to post often. I don't post as much as I should as other videographers do. I try my best. That's the best way to connect me, probably through Instagram. You can also email me, markaiellofilms@gmail.com. I'm trying to get my YouTube to action. That's another goal for the new year. Better branding myself, put some more content on YouTube. Those are my plugs, I guess.
Awesome. Well, hey man, thanks
thank
for
you,
coming
Russ.
on. This
Appreciate
was a lot
it.
of fun.
Yeah, thank you, man. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.